Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Check the levels.
Yeah, we good. We good. Check.
Check, check.
I think we're good to go. Everybody, you can hear us too as well. How's the quality? Let us know. We turn it up, turn it down, whatever it is that you need. We're back.
Hey, we in here.
This time with Dev too as well. What's going on, man?
Look who's back, baby. Look who's back. It's about time.
Guess
we
who's back?
Reunited. And it feels
so good. Hey, man, different setup too as well.
True.
Yeah, it's been too long, but I don't want to hold it with too many pleasantries and salutations like we've been sitting here for the past hour.
This is true.
Yeah.
We do talk regularly, so.
Charity.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm great.
Yeah, everybody, we rescheduled.
Hey, we did. Look.
Oh,
exactly.
I told you I'd be back.
Nah, I mean, I know how it goes as far as podcasts. You know, things pop up, then you got to reschedule. So it is what it is. But thank you for your schedule flexibility.
Oh, thank you for having me still.
Absolutely. There's been a lot going on before we even begin, as far as Charles County. Couple things to catch up on. We're still waiting on D1 CCBOE seat to get filled.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Of course.
Unfortunately, had that incident at the mall yesterday too as well.
What is the world coming to, bro?
So, and I was saying too. I think I was telling y'all earlier that my wife was there like 40 minutes before it happened.
Yeah.
And I mean the bullet that was fired. I mean it could have been a straight to hit somebody.
Yeah.
I mean it's even things like that. Like I have 3 kids. 1 little daughter, 2 older boys. So I talk to them about, I see things like this. It's positive, negative. Just told them like, hey, these things you got to be aware of. How do they get in that situation? That's why we stay in positive environments, programs, make sure we're staying busy. So there's always a lesson to be learned, but unfortunately, it's through somebody's stupidity that these things are learned. So
I say every negative equals a positive, depending on how you look at it and what you take from it. Even in failure, even in negative situations, like something like that, that's a teaching moment for other generations, for other youths, and just for adults, just to kind of be, you know what I'm saying? Things are changing. It's not, we were just talking about it. Charles County not what it was 20 years ago.
No.
Waldorf isn't. I mean, I'm PG County, D.C. native, but I did spend a lot of time up here. I went to Westlake for my 9th grade year, and so I did spend some time up here growing up, but it's not the same, and you got to keep that in mind. Like, keep your heads on the swivel and just embrace the change, but also be very, very mindful and aware of what's going on around you, because it's crazy out here, man.
yeah, protect your loved ones. Watch back.
Facts.
On a swivel.
Yeah. Things we've all talked about. So tonight's podcast, Charity, featuring you and your story. So I first started to get familiar with everything that's going on with you. Thank you, everybody, as far as the audio, too, as well. If y'all have questions for Charity, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll be reading live questions as Charity goes through her story, too, as well. But your story was brought to me by a few mutual friends of ours. And obviously, anything Charles County, me and Dev, we like to highlight it. Charles County surrounding areas, Maryland, DMV. So I think your story was something interesting that we want you to talk about, unfiltered, on the podcast, good clean audio.
Yep.
Yeah. So shout out to the studio too as well for hosting us. But with that being said, we're not going to hold it up. Let's start at the beginning though, as far as your background and how you came to be where you are now.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let me try to be concise because I talk a lot.
No, it's a podcast.
Right.
That's what we do, right?
Good. That's content,
Right.
Yeah,
baby.
you good here.
Okay, so personally, I was born in Detroit, Michigan, and my parents, they relocated to Maryland to afford us better opportunities. Detroit, Michigan was getting pretty bad. And my mom, she became a court reporter at D.C. Superior Court. My father, he worked for D.C. Metropolitan Police for a little bit. And we came, and believe it or not, the first place we lived was Waldorf in 1987. It's very different now, but we from there, we ended up in PG County, and I really identify as being raised in PG County.
Right.
And so I went to Frederick Douglass, graduated from there, went to Towson University, got my undergraduate in clinical psychology, and from there went directly into a job at the Charles County Health Department as a substance abuse counselor.
Okay. Background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I loved it there. I worked under the supervision of Paco Blake. Whoop whoop! Shout out to Paco. Hope he's doing okay. And I loved my job there. What I didn't love was my paycheck.
Come on now. Come on now.
I did not love the paycheck. And I was like, okay, I was a substance abuse counselor by day, and I was in grad school full-time online, and I was bartending at Burn Manor at night. I don't know how old you are, if you know about
that maybe be a little bit before our
That's
time.
before
I
your
was
time.
I was the liquor buying age around then. So
Well, I'll tell you this much. It wasn't a good look, okay? It was definitely not a good look. I knew, and I had a 3-year-old, so I knew that I needed to do something different. Fortunately, I had the advantage of having 2 parents that were into entrepreneurship. So I actually decided to shoot my shot with that, actually. My mother had started an assisted living home, and my father, he owned a daycare. They divorced, and they moved on. But I was able to really see entrepreneurship work. And I think that's part of what gave me courage to jump out there. So my mom was going to sell the assisted living property that we had. And I was like, you know what? Don't sell it. Can I buy it? I don't have any money right now, but I'll pay you back. I'll pay you on a payment plan once I get profitable. And she was like, you sure you want all that stress? And I was like, yeah, I think I can do it.
okay.
And so I took over that first Peaceful Life in Upper Marlboro. And I still had the job at the health department at the time, but it started getting tough trying to do both. And I decided to purchase my first home, which was in Waldorf, actually. That was 2005. And so I did all of that at around the same time. And because this was during the time where they were doing predatory lending, we didn't know it at the time that it was predatory, but they were doing these stated income, no doc loans so that you can buy homes. I took full advantage because I had a good credit score.
Right.
So I bought 3 houses back to back within a few months of each other before they caught up on my credit report. And I was like, I don't know. I'm going to try to make it work. So I basically, the first home that I bought, I turned it into a home daycare. That was me getting my feet wet to see, do I like daycare? Is it something I can handle? Let me try it on a small scale first. And after that, I started looking for a commercial space. And I found one in Clinton, Maryland, off of Old Alexandra Ferry Road. I met with the owner of the property. He was an elderly gentleman at the time, and he was very helpful and kind to me. And he worked out deals with me that I don't know I would have been able to get anywhere else. It was kind of a hole in the wall. So we had a deal where I would get deferred rent if I brought the building kind of up to par. It took me 2 years, actually. Oddly enough, it was a zoning issue I had to deal with and building codes and everything. But I was able to successfully navigate that and get that commercial center open. And eventually, we're now licensed for 71 children.
Okay,
And,
nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was doing that. And then I also had the other 2 homes, and we had assisted living going out of those. So now there were 3 assisted living homes. There was a home daycare, and then there was the commercial daycare. And at that point, it was stressful. I had to quit my job at the health department and just go all in
Right.
for entrepreneurship. So long story short, that's my background as far as getting into entrepreneurship. It was a real struggle point because the loans that I got, those mortgages, they were predatory. And it was getting to a point where I couldn't make ends meet, and I was facing foreclosure with a lot of the homes. And so fortunately, Obama had the HAMP modification of home affordable modification programs. Thank goodness for that, because I was able to get modifications for each of the homes that I owned. And one of the homes, I actually sold it to my mother and stepfather at an inflated price so that I could withdraw the equity from it to buy me more time and give me more working capital. And shout out to my mom and Kevin. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I didn't know y'all was gonna have an economics class tonight, did you? Over here dropping gems on my melon.
Man.
Yeah.
So yes, that
Bring
that
out my
helped
notepad,
save
start
me.
taking notes.
That really saved me, my parents having my back like that. Also, my sister, she had loaned me $30,000. She took out a home equity line of credit. So my family, I have a village. No
Hey,
doubt. I have a
shout out to it.
So when I say self-made millionaire, that's only like a technical term, meaning I didn't have like, generational wealth or investors, but I definitely didn't do it by myself for sure. So anyway, the modifications really helped out. And from there, I mean, things just started kind of smoothing out. But what I was noticing, I was getting burnt out because assisted living is a very tough industry. And my husband and I, we were giving it our best, but we married during this time. We had 2 more children together.
You're good.
Got it?
Yeah.
We had 2 more children together, all during this time. So it was really tough. And we started thinking, you know what? This is a lot of hard work, and the money is okay, but we felt like that we needed to find something that we felt we had more talent, that we could do other things and not have to work as hard. So that leads to present day. Airbnb. How did I get into Airbnb?
Yes, how did you?
Talk about it.
I got into Airbnb. It was just really a fundraiser for my son's college tuition, which I ended up not even needing to pay because he ended up getting financial aid.
Okay.
Love it.
Yes, we out of our home, we had a basement with 3 rooms and a full kitchen, and it's like all its own separate things. So I was like, you know what? Let's just put those rooms on the market because we rarely use the basement.
Right.
And it was good money.
Yeah.
I think I raised $50,000 in 10 months off of using just 3 rooms in the basement.
Wow.
Some of the easiest work I've ever done. Yeah, it was cool.
Ooh.
And so I end up not needing to use it for college tuition. Now I had like some money to work with, and so that really helped. And then I said, you know what? Well, these assisted living homes that we have, they're too stressful. So let's close down 2 of them over time. We closed down 2 and turn those into Airbnbs also.
Nice.
And actually end up being more profitable, actually, and a lot less work. Because Medicaid doesn't pay very well when you're in assisted living. So that's how we got into the Airbnb. But I still wasn't quite satisfied. And I actually decided, to have all those type of businesses, brick and mortar, you need people, you need manpower.
Right.
Staffing was challenging. So I wasn't having much luck with it. I didn't think I was very good at it, like supervising people. I was always annoyed and aggravated. I didn't have any peace of mind. So I was like, we have to try to figure out something else where we don't have to rely on people. So then I said, well, let me go back to school and get my doctorate. So maybe I can just do private practice and make enough money where I can just rely on myself and maybe a secretary or something in the office. I got into a doctoral program, was in it for 3 years, going hard, like killing myself, and the school shut down.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The school shut down because I made the mistake of going to a nonprofit school. I never do that again. Don't ever do that, y'all. Don't ever do that.
Another gym.
So after that, I was like, okay, well, let me get back to business then, because that didn't pan out, and I didn't want to transfer my credits to the new program that they were going to have people going to, because it would have added on an extra year to the program.
Right.
And they required that you focus full time on the program, and you couldn't have a job or anything. So that really wasn't working for me.
No.
It wasn't working for me. So I said, okay, what are we going to do? So after that, I started working on what's called the Diamond Lab. Because people used to always tell me, you need to mentor people. You need to teach people about what you do in entrepreneurship, and you need to try to figure out how to make money from it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let me try that. So that's where the Diamond Lab came from. And that's a small business development platform. It's kind of inactive right now because once I found the farm property we'll end up talking about, I had to kind of back off from that a little bit. But actually, the trademark just came through the other day for the Diamond Lab. Intellectual property, one of the ways of building wealth. So I tried to do that for a little bit. It's very challenging. I had a public failure by paying this money to have an app developed. It did not pan out, but that's okay because I share my journey with people. Every time I think of a new business idea, I usually go live and just show people the journey and let them see what I'm doing day to day and how things are panning out. I actually started meeting people through the Diamond Lab, and I also joined an organization called the Women Presidents Organization. That was an organization full of powerhouse women who, to be in this club, you had to have a company where you grossed a minimum of $1 million annually. That was the minimum. That was to be at the lowest level. Then you had people that were like platinum level, which means your company had to make no less than 10 million annually. And then you had zenith level, which was like 50 million. And it wasn't like a pyramid scheme or anything. It was just a club where if your business makes that much money, that's the distinction that you have.
Right.
When I met with those women, it was a wake-up call, because prior to that, I thought I was hot stuff. I thought I was doing it big, right? And as I started listening to these women, because they had monthly board meetings, I realized, oh my goodness, these women are, not that they don't work hard, but they're making a lot of money and they're not working as hard as me. So I started paying attention. And from there, I feel like I was just way more open. These were things that my husband had been telling me a long time, but I was offended when he would come from him, because I was like, what do you mean? You know, we're not as successful as we think we are. Like, what are you talking about? I get it now. Right. I get it. There's a whole different level to this, okay? So meeting those women really inspired me. That's when I started realizing, okay, how do you build real wealth? How do you get real financial freedom and not just, you know, create a job for yourself? I really got focused on that. And I think the next move that we made was Turo, because the pandemic happened. So the pandemic happened, and we did pretty well, because at the time the pandemic hit, we had savings. That's one thing about me. I like to save. Big on save. I like to save. I like to have a cushion. Yeah, I don't like to spend every dollar that I get. So we were okay, but then they had all these programs and grants and different things, and because we were in childcare, assisted living, and everything, we actually got a lot of help. So that was great. We made it through the pandemic, and I actually found out about Turo. I don't remember how I found out about Turo, but we ended up putting one of our cars on Turo, because I had a Maserati. So I put it on there.
Hey.
It started getting rented. I was like, wait a minute, this reminds me of the Airbnb situation that happened. And I saw the money was good, and I was like, okay, let me buy another car and another car and another car and another car. And probably 18 cars later, I think within a few months, we built a fleet of RVs and exotic cars, and kind of like created a rental car company called Acclaimed Rentals. Yes.
Nice.
That was last year. Then I was like, okay, we have all these vehicles. Where are we going to park them? I started looking for properties.
Uh-oh.
And so this is how it unfolded. And we were looking all over the place. PG County, Charles County. I mean, we were down in Newburgh. And then we went on an RV trip, and we saw like how campgrounds and this RV trend was really booming. So then I said, well, you know what? We should buy land. We should make sure whatever property we get, we don't want to lease anything. Right. We want to buy. We want to own. So long story short, after putting a contract on a property in Cedarville, that property was 40 acres, and it was a former horse farm. But after doing a feasibility study, I found out that it had some environmental non-compliances that I would have had to probably pay maybe $100,000 or more to actually remediate those problems. If I would have purchased I would have inherited the non-compliance, and it would have been my responsibility to fix it. And the people selling the property, they didn't want to budge on the price. So I had a contingency in the contract that if my feasibility study says it wasn't a good idea, I could get out of it. So I got out of it.
Nice. That's smart.
And then I think maybe probably not even a week after I got out of that contract, I found the property that I have now down off of Port Tobacco Road. I found it. I told my husband, you got time? We need to drive past this property. I need to see it in person to see if it's as good as I think it is from seeing like the pictures on the listing. We went down there, we saw it, and I had my letter ready. I put the letter in the mailbox. I knew I wasn't supposed to do that, but I put my letter in the mailbox for whoever the owner would be, to get it. And then I saw there was a sign for the real estate agent. So I got her number, called her. I think I was able to put a contract on that house, and she accepted my offer within about a week. And she said, the only thing is, she's a widow and she's moving back to Brazil, and she doesn't want to wait very long for you to do a feasibility study. So I said, okay, just give me 60 days. And she agreed. So I was moving at lightning speed. I scheduled meetings with planning and growth management, all of this prior to me actually purchasing the property. And fortunately for the financing, I didn't know if I was going to get approved or not, but I'm the kind of person, I'll just try it.
Right,
Just try it. What's the worst that can happen? And I actually found a publicly traded company, Thatcham Capital, that actually approved me for this acquisition under a commercial acquisition. So I had to create a holding company because they won't you have to have an actual company that does the transaction. And I went through all of that. I had to come up with my personal financial statements and everything and give it to them. And it worked. And we made it in time for the 60 days.
Nice.
So we went to settlement on June 30th. Shout out to Lisa Wills. She's my real estate agent. She lives on Port Tobacco Road, and she was wonderful. So that's how we got to the farm. I mean, that's how we got to that property, actually. That's what happened with it. Let me interject.
So let's pause right there. I'll read a couple comments.
Yes.
And then we'll go into that was it's a great appetizer. Hell of a story too as well.
Yeah,
Come up.
Thank you.
I'm ready to do some entrepreneurship myself.
Who you think?
Yeah, we're gonna have a meeting after this too as
I
well.
was gonna say.
like we have a meeting till 3 a.m. in the morning just talking. Hey, I'm with
Them
it.
days.
I'm with it.
We've had many of them.
Now, hey, look, first and foremost, we got 30 people in here. Let's get the likes up. Let's get the shares up too as well.
Of course.
Yeah, what do we always say as far as housekeeping?
Hey, look, a share and like cost you how much?
It costs nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Look, I'm going to say it real quick, but y'all know, long-time watchers of the show, I'm going to make it quick. I'm going to make it simple. Give us that Showtime love. You know what the Showtime love. But if you are new to the channel, here's what it is. Showtime meaning you like the show, love the show, hate the show, watch the show, take the time out, like, share, subscribe. Comment in the comment section. Let us know what your boys doing over here at BNY, how we can improve, or if we getting everything right. Y'all let us know.
And like we said, we're not sitting here asking for a bunch of money, which, by the way, once again, thank you very much. The donations given for the shed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we've used that money to reinvest. Shout out to Quality Touch.
Facts.
Put the money in Will and Tracy's hand. We're over here using this space, so everything goes to a good cause. So, thank you very much for your help. But share, I like, and just keep following what we do from here. So,
Facts.
But as far as what we got in the chat, Julie, what's going on with you? Pascal, Derek Terry,
Pascal, hola.
Hey.
Lisa Yates. I need you to get me out of jury duty. I saw a letter that came to my house not too long ago. I need you to go ahead and just erase that off. I mean, if you could do that for me, please. If not, then I mean, it is what it is. I guess I'll see you here soon. What's got any? Luna, Carlos, what's going on with you too as well? Michaela, how you doing? Kendra, Sharon. Yep. Good show. Henry Watkins. I appreciate it. And Mr. Leftwich always with some nonsense for the
jokes,
chat.
starting out.
Always. All right, so let's get back to it. You good?
Yeah.
Got some water?
I'm good.
All right. Is you good? Hot? Temperature's fine.
I'm good.
I had to turn up a little bit.
Am I
That's the
looking
case.
greasy right now?
Nah, just checking. Just checking. So let's see where we're at right now. So, well, obviously, I follow you on social media, which is one of the ways I became very familiar with your story. What are some of the issues you have had to deal with along the way, and what are you trying to accomplish as far as the farm too, as well?
Well, some of the issues have been, this is my first commercial acquisition. I wouldn't say, so I've never considered myself a developer, but I guess part of what I've done in the past, even like with the child care center, you could consider development. I guess the difficulty in the beginning, my perspective has changed since the beginning. But in the beginning, what I felt the difficulty was just learning Charles County, the Charles County zoning ordinance, the Charles County comprehensive plan, figuring out who's who in Charles County, and just how to navigate the permitting process and all of those things. Although I had done some pre-concept plan meetings prior to purchasing the property, and I had already they had already demonstrated that I met the minimum requirements for special exceptions to do a campground and a RV park. I really just think the difficulty was figuring out, how to approach the project. Because what I noticed was that a lot of the things in the zoning ordinance seemed kind of antiquated, kind of outdated. And there really was nothing in the zoning ordinance that truly captured the essence of what my project was and what my vision was. So it's kind of like they pigeonholed it into what they had available. And I think that created a huge problem, because one of the things that I wanted to do does involve RVs, but it's considered like boondocking or glamping, like Harvest Host and things like that.
You say there's some misconceptions about what you're trying to do with the RV park.
Yeah.
And there was some false information out there.
There's definitely some false information. I think someone told me, I wish I had known, someone told me you never come to Charles County and say the word RV because people freak out. They immediately think trailer park. They immediately think ugly, blight, it's
stain on the land.
Yeah.
Eyesore.
I didn't know that. Because I really didn't. I still don't. I refuse to conceptualize it as an RV park. But that is the only category in the zoning ordinance that they fitted into for me to even have a few RVs on the property, not requiring any hookup or anything. So the problems in the beginning I felt was the zoning ordinance being antiquated and outdated. I also noticed that the PGM staff, they outright told me from the beginning, please bear with us, because what you're proposing, they said, you are proposing, your proposed combination of uses in the rural conservation zone is unprecedented. So bear with us. And for me, that was just their way of saying, we don't know what we're doing right now because your project's a little complex. We don't quite know what to do. So bear with us as we kind of navigate this. And it really felt like the relationship with PGM was a cooperative relationship. Okay, it was
you say it was
cooperative. Yeah, it was like they were trying to figure it out right along with me. At some point, that felt like it changed, and I think I know why now. It's because of neighbor opposition.
Let's stop right there. Let's talk on that. Expand. Let's go further into that. What do you mean?
Okay, so once I started discovering the things that would be required for the uses that I was proposing, because I had a civil engineer, I had a survey done of the property and different things. Once I saw what was going to be required, I was like, okay, well, Satcham Capital is willing to give me a construction loan to do whatever needs to be done. But it's like, wow, it feels so burdensome to have to do all of these things. So I had to think, is there anything else I can do where I can at least get started? Because everything that they were telling me I needed to do would take a very long time to get it done. So I think that, I don't really know how it got out to the public. It might have been some of my social media discussions, or I don't know if anyone at PGM talked to neighbors or friends in the community. I really don't know how the rumor started.
And just real quick, what time frame we talking about here when you first started working with PGM on this project?
I started work, so I put the contract, I purchased the property June 30th. It took me almost exactly 60 days to get approved. So if we're talking 2 months before June, I was working with PGM before I bought the property.
Gotcha.
Because I wasn't foolish enough to buy the property without doing a feasibility study.
Right.
Now, there are some people would like to believe that I wasn't a diligent business owner and that I got myself into something that I didn't know how to get out of. I don't agree with that because I actually feel like I was quite knowledgeable about what I needed to be knowledgeable about.
Right.
What I didn't know were some of the details. And one thing I did not account for, and still don't know how I would account for, cultural differences. In an area where you're coming in, you're trying to do business. How do you really account for that? How do you measure that?
What do you mean cultural differences?
Cultural differences, like how do you know that you're moving into a district or a county that possibly is in the middle of race wars or political wars or class wars or things like that? Moving into an area that has a lot of political strife and things that I'm just not accustomed to coming from PG County. There are things that I've been told about Charles County right now, that there are a lot of changes that are happening rapidly with the composition of Charles County from a race standpoint, socioeconomic, and all those kind of things. I guess maybe watching the news could help me be informed, but I really
just watch BNY.
Yeah, I did.
Got a library podcast.
Yeah, I didn't know. If I had known there was this much turmoil and things going on that I think are attributing to the problem, or you can attribute the problem to, I wouldn't have purchased the property.
So you would have, hindsight being 2020, you wouldn't have kind of taken on this project with the knowledge that you have now, based on the opposition and the nature of it.
I would have taken my talent somewhere else.
South Beach.
I would have taken my talent somewhere else.
Right.
Where people are a bit more open and open to new ideas, open to innovation. Not saying that no one down here is open to that, but I do think that there's an attitude now where there's a lot of fear about change, and I don't know if it's about race or if it's about whatever, but it seems like there's a lot of fear and ignorance about things. And had I known those things, I would have made a different investment. I would have gone somewhere else.
But you're not losing the fight as far as to win in the end. You're here. Okay,
I'm here to stay.
Okay, all right.
I thought about giving up.
Right.
That's natural human. As far as that, with everything you're dealing with. I want to talk about the change you're trying to bring in a second. I want to take it back to neighbor opposition.
Yes.
Can we expand more into that? What you've been dealing with?
So we're talking about buying the property in June 30th. I went to settlement on June 30th. The day after settlement, when I moved into the property, one of the only neighbors that I actually know and met came over with her niece and her niece's children to introduce themselves. And she started questioning me. I mean, the questions were, I think, questions that any neighbor would ask, but then it started becoming almost like an interrogation. And because I'm a very transparent person and I was very excited about all the things that I had planned to do, I shared everything. And she bust out crying. Yeah.
Wait.
Tears of joy, or it's like, oh, no, please. Please don't do this to my county. We
and I don't want to make light of it or mock her or anything. I mean, she's an elderly woman, and she had talked about being a widow, and even her dogs had died, so she was living alone. And this prospect of me moving in with my family and trying to do business with the property, let me say this. Her father used to own all the land around there, and her nephew was the one who had that home built. So I feel like it was just, she was emotional, and it was a little awkward, but I'm a compassionate person, and my stepdad was standing there, and I can't remember who else was there, and we were just, trying to reassure her that we're good folks, and that, I would definitely, make sure that I'm running things by her, and that I will definitely keep in mind that she lives alone and that she has certain fears and different things. And so that was my welcome to the neighborhood.
Is that not
different fears?
Is that not a bit crazy?
Comment section, I'm coming for you.
That in order for you to just exist and do what it is that's right for your family, you have to appease others around you when you're literally not trying to impede on anyone. Is that not a little, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would have been taken aback at the audacity. And don't get me wrong, you want to be understanding.
Right.
You definitely want to be understanding because this is something new for her and just for other people in the community. But why is it that we always have to make ourselves as the good people? We have to prove and validate our existences. You ever get that feeling at times?
I do now, but back then, I felt nothing but compassion for a older woman that I respect my elders, and And I just thought about it. Like, it's changed. It's changed for her. And I really didn't have too much of a concern because I felt like once she got to know me, she would love me.
Right.
You know, so I didn't think too much about it. But now looking back on everything and hearing some of the advice that people have given me, I've had some people actually make comments and imply that the reason why I'm having such a hard time with neighbors is because I came in not being a good neighbor, because I didn't go up to people's homes, I suppose, and introduce myself and
got check in,
check in,
this?
just just to be. I've been accused of being a bad neighbor, I guess, in so many words. And I'll be honest, maybe I could have done some things better. I honestly don't know if it would have changed anything.
Nah. And not to mention, ain't it when you knew the neighborhood, anybody would come over there like apple
thought I
pie?
was
They
supposed to
bring
get-
the pies to
I
you.
thought I was supposed to get the
Yeah.
pie,
They
right?
bring you the casserole.
I gotta bring
Yeah.
you. Gotta invite you over to dinner.
Yeah, when they came over, there was no pie, there were no cupcakes, but there were tears. There were tears. My joy, I felt bad. It was like
Jesus.
because it's like my joy. This was one of the biggest this was an exciting time for me, right? And so to know that my joy was bringing somebody else pain,
Right.
I was just like, dang, I didn't even think, because I'm from PG County, so like our houses, we could have like a 6,000 square foot home, but you reach out your window and you can almost touch your neighbor. Y'all can grab hands from windows if y'all were to reach out, right? So I'm thinking this 20-acre property is huge in my opinion, because I'm not from the country or rural area. I'm not used to having land.
Right.
So I felt like it was a big enough property and everyone was so far away that nothing that I was doing, no one would care. I really didn't think anyone would care, honestly. I have to be honest. I think, and those are the kind of cultural differences that I think sometimes people don't think about. It's like, it's not necessarily that I thought that, somebody that has 100 acres still may feel like they want whoever is moving in to the property that's adjacent to their property, they may really still feel like they want an introduction. They want to know, who are you? What are you planning to do here with this property? That seems to be the expectation down here, actually. And I
For
didn't
you
know
or for
that.
everybody?
I think they're saying
That's
for everyone.
my question. You're right.
I don't know if it's. I'm hearing it's for everybody, whether you're Amish, black, white, man, woman. I'm hearing that is the expectation, just that you get to know your neighbors and you. It is almost like you want to make sure you get their permission, for certain things to be, I don't know that I agree, because I really feel like, well, number one,
Your property's your property, right?
my property is my property. If I'm doing things that are aligned with the Charles County Comprehensive Plan and the zoning ordinance, if I'm meeting those minimum standards that I was shown to have met in the pre-concept plan meeting prior to buying the property, I never thought that there would be neighbor opposition. Now, that part I was wrong about. I admit I was wrong about that. Now, how do you not be wrong about that? That's the part I still haven't figured out. How do you, before you buy a property, and keep in mind, the person I'm buying the property from was under a time constraint. She was a widow,
Right.
and she was ready to go back to Brazil. She needed to sell that property and get on with her life because she had lost her husband to a heart attack, Joe Greases.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. I heard he was a wonderful person. So, I did the best that I could with the time frame I was given, but I don't know that, like, for instance, if I buy another property, which I'm sure I will at some point, I like to buy an apartment complex next. I don't know that I'm going to go and knock on doors ahead of time. Maybe that's what you're supposed to do. I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience in development. I really don't know.
That's not a world that I walk in for my day-to-day activities and operations, but that seems different. I'll just say that.
It's different than what I'm used to, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. And then I have to think, what if I grew up in a rural area and I've had this land in my family for generations and someone comes along? Maybe I would feel that way. I don't know. I doubt it, but maybe I would.
You're going to be here long enough to find out.
In fact, you here now.
I'm here
You ain't
now.
going nowhere.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I'm just this whole is just kind of so. I'm not surprised because I understand the sentiments. I understand as you're explaining it. I could take myself out of it and put myself in a neighbor's shoes and be like, oh, okay, it'd be nice to get a heads up. But then it's like, how entitled of a mindset is that to think I owe you, a complete stranger, anything? Is it a courtesy? Absolutely. And I can deal with it being a courtesy to, hey, this is what's going on. This is who I am. I'm coming in here. Here's my plans. Just so you know, it ain't going to stop. Right. But at least you have that update. But I don't think that would have even mattered if you would have went around, because the fact is it's just change in general. Right. And that's the issue. Could be. Let's get this comment section. I ain't been ignoring you. Just moving the podcast along. Julie, saying ain't nobody's business. Well, Cheryl's been going in.
Cheryl said this is not Jim Crow. We don't have to appease anybody. Absolutely ridiculous. Derek Terry not appease nobody too as well. That's old school Charles County. Amanda, I've heard the stories. Cheryl's not a fan of your neighbors too as well. Betty, how you doing? You had a comment here earlier. I want to read that real quick too as well. Many people who reside in the western portion of the county aren't open-minded and open to change. They are jealous and afraid you're going to make money and get more than them. How do you feel about that particular statement?
That breaks my heart because I have a mindset of abundance. There's abundance out here. We all could get it. And the thing is, if anyone would be jealous, I think it would be me, right? Jealous of the people who have inherited land from their fathers and grandfathers, and I'm not jealous, but I would think if there was any jealousy, it would be in that direction, not towards the black woman who has pulled herself up by her bootstraps and figured out how to create a first generation, building first, generational wealth.
Right.
I don't, it's hard to relate to that type of mindset when you don't have that mindset.
Right.
Got 35 in here. If you haven't liked, share the podcast, please do so too as well. It definitely helps us grow. Bill Dotson, I want to read your comment real quick.
Hey, Bill Dotson.
If anyone tried to put a trailer park in Charles County, they would encounter the same opposition. This interview is really ridiculous, lacks truth, and to throw a cloud of confusion, race is brought up. Bill, this is what I would say. Next podcast, you are invited to come sit down next to us, and you can refute everything the Charity is saying. That's how you feel. Open invitation. We can sit back, we can watch together, break down parts, and you can tell me what's right, what's wrong.
A little react with old Bill Dot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then
what was the comment? Let's dissect it a little bit.
Yeah, if anyone tried to put a trailer park in Charles County,
can we stop there?
Let's stop there.
Okay.
And this is part of what you mentioned earlier. I've read the comments. Yeah.
I just can't. You can't talk people out of what's just embedded in their minds. If that is the perspective they have, if that's what if my vision, if that's how they see my vision and that's what it looks like to them, if that's what they want to call it and they want to latch on to that, I don't think that I'm going to try to talk them out of it. But I absolutely do not consider my project a trailer park. I mean, it's just preposterous, actually, to conceptualize it that way for someone like myself.
Right.
I'm not saying it's preposterous for them to conceptualize it that way because maybe they really just haven't heard of what it is that I'm trying to do. Or even if they know exactly what I'm trying to do and that's still how they want to look at it, I won't be able to win those people over.
And just to exactly what you're trying to do, too, as well, if you want to, I know we talked about it earlier, we want to recap what it is. And obviously you said it's not a trailer park. It's a...
No, okay, so what my vision was to actually have glamping, and you can, incidental outdoor accommodations is what Maryland is calling it for agricultural land. They have actually changed they've amended the legislation to include that because they know it's trendy, it's popping, it's actually helping a lot of farms and people with land be able to hold on to their land. It's really, if you look at Harvest Host, to me, a trailer park is, where people live, usually long term. They may have a concrete pad with electrical hookup and sewage disposal. And you have people that come there and they make it their home. Sometimes they own the trailers and they put them there. That's what I think of a trailer park, and it has a negative connotation because I'm from Detroit, Michigan, so there were a lot of trailer parks there, and it was just like, if I heard someone was trying to create a trailer park based on what I believe a trailer park is, I would be like, no, please don't bring that here, right? But it's not that. But if that's the only idea that someone has, but really, if you look up harvesthost.com, look up the idea of a farm stay. Smatic did a really wonderful presentation on farm stays where they created a definition of a farm stay, and their presentation, it was like a PowerPoint presentation, and they showed how it could be staying in a cabin, it could be staying in an RV on a property, it could be staying in a tent, or even staying in like a home on the property. And it's just different, like glamping, and it's not a trailer park. It's just not a trailer park. I don't know any other way to say it. If people are just dead set against an RV, because I'm telling you, the RVs, at least some of the RVs that we've purchased and that we've seen when we went RVing, those things are nice.
Facts.
They're nice.
Definitely.
So if someone wants to come and they want to experience that beautiful property, because everybody loves it, if they want to come and they want to park their RV for a couple days and have their kids there and fish on the pond and just kind of bird watch and just take in the environment, and then they leave. And while they're here, they're probably going to hit Marie's Diner, B Donuts. They're going to probably go and
a little business for the community.
Yeah, they're going to, because that's what's been
BNY,
happening with the
podcast.
Airbnb.
Yeah.
Just in the past 3 weeks, I've had guests from all over the country already. And when I see them, I'm coming to the house and I see them with their little B Donut box and, their Marie Diners carry out. And I'm just like, they don't want to go to Chick-fil-A. They don't want to go to Texas Roadhouse. Because you can go there anywhere. They want to go and they want to see the local, like the mom and pop shops. They want to experience like the vibe here. And some people don't want to come here and stay in a traditional farm or like an older farmhouse. So what I'm doing is kind of creating an outdoor and like an experience in nature but you have all the modern amenities and comfort. Because a lot of people don't want to go camping because they're like, I'm not staying in a tent, sleeping in a sleeping bag, dealing with mosquitoes and using, pooping in a hole in the,
Yeah,
that's me.
Bougie camp.
Yeah, so it's like
a little air conditioning, some Wi-Fi.
Make it comfortable, right? And then make it chic. Have that nice little. I love interior design, so whenever I design any of my properties, I love to like put a spin on it. So having that rustic / chic kind of thing, it's an experience. And guess what? Just what my vision was and just how I thought it would be received by my target market, they are loving it. They're loving it.
How long can someone stay on the property for? Is there a certain amount of time?
As long as they book, just as many days as they pay for, basically. But I wouldn't imagine that anyone would be staying there long term because the prices are too high.
Right.
So that's price point.
It's a vacation.
It's a vacation.
That's what it's for.
Yeah,
it's a vacation.
No one's going to pay $200 a night to stay in a trailer park. I can assure you of that.
Let's read some of these comments too as well. There's a couple questions here. We'll stick with this one for a little bit. Comment section, let you dominate for a little bit. I'll stick with Carlos right here. RVs with no hookups on our trailer park. Charities bringing agritourism to the county, which would be incredible as people have been craving something that brings in tourism and preserves the rural environment. Cheryl, it's a ton of trailer parks in Charles County. All they worry about people with no indoor plumbing. Nanjamoy. Nanjamoy, we see you.
That definitely comes up quite
Shout
a
out
few
to
times.
Nanjamoy. I'm supposed to be hooking up with someone out there, actually. Sharon Grove. Shout out to Sharon Grove.
Oh,
We're
okay.
supposed to be hooking up together, and she is going to, we're going to do a private event for the families of Nanjamoy so they can come to the property and have a good time and be able to enjoy some of the things that they don't have out there. I didn't even know it was like that out there. I feel bad that I was that ignorant to know that people are living like that.
I felt the same whenever it was first, because I'm not too familiar with this area. Ricky knows a lot more because he's been up here for quite a while. But just with us meeting and me kind of being exposed to this area, I've been kind of learning bit by bit. But that podcast that we had where that was brought up, that was the first time I had ever heard of
Which pod?
Nanjamoy.
Was that So what, Augusta? We were talking
Augusta. It was Augusta, yeah.
Yeah.
I had never heard of Nanjamoy, let alone the fact that it's like a third world country there.
Yeah.
In some places, they
And some
indoor
$1 million
plumbing, basic necessities,
Dirt floors.
Yeah, I had no idea that was actually a thing. So that was definitely an eye-opening experience. But it's a beautiful area.
Yes.
From what I hear, like it's really nice out there, and whomever is responsible has just done that area a disservice. Is what the consensus has been. So that's it's a weird.
Actually, the Charles County, I know they're doing some things with the sewer plan, but when I read the Charles County Comprehensive Plan, the one that was created in 2016, and I looked on the interactive map, actually, like my property is in septic tier 2, which actually means that they intend to bring public sewer and water down in the near future. They don't say exactly when, but like so you have septic tier 1, which means they already have it. Tier 2 means you're next in line. Tier 3 means maybe in the distant future, and then tier 4 is like forget about it. I'm kind of thinking that Nanjamoy situation might be a tier 4 situation.
Yeah, wherever the last tier is. Yeah, but that's great though.
Yeah, I
That's
can't
cool.
wait.
That's
I
cool.
can't wait. Me and her are going to get together, and we're going to let them come and have a good time. I don't know what the racial composition is, but she said that she felt it would be wonderful for them to see a black woman that has land ownership and an entrepreneur. She thought it would be really good for them to see that and to be able to experience the beautiful amenities on the property.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Comment here. Joseph Mank, what's going on with you? What's the zoning issues here? Is this project within code for such said project?
It is actually. So as I said, I did a pre-concept plan with planning and growth management where when you have a permissible use, you can either have something that's permitted outright, or it can be permitted with conditions, or it can be a special exception, or it can be not at all. Those are the 4 options. So I noticed that some of the things that I wanted to do would have required special exceptions. And that's why I did the pre-concept plan meeting, because it's like a preliminary meeting where all the different departments in planning and growth management that are relevant to your project, they all come onto the meeting. It probably was at least 10 people on this meeting, and I think I did about 2 meetings before I actually bought the property, just to make sure that it at least met the minimum requirements for a special exception. Now, just because you meet the minimum requirements doesn't mean you'll get approved, because you still have to go through, there may be some other things. A prime example would be my property is in what's called a major stream valley. So usually, even though it's 20 acres, usually you will be able to like build a couple of houses on 20 acres. But in a major stream valley, because it's an environmentally sensitive area, you can only build 1 house per 10 acres. So it's like you have your minimum requirements, but then you will discover there may be some additional requirements. Well, right now, as far as the topographical features of the property and other things, there really is no reason that I shouldn't be able to do it, because everything could be developed. The problem is developing that farmland is something that Charles County, they don't want all the farmland being developed, which I understand why. That's part of what that agritourism legislation was about, the agricultural related uses, that zoning text amendment. Yes, that was all about preserving the rural heritage of the county and giving people with farmland the ability to do these kind of mixed use things, a quasi mixed use development, without all of the stringent development requirements. Because what would happen is, sure, I could get an engineer to draw up all the plans and everything that I would need to do an RV park and a campground and all of that, but it would actually end up really, it would kind of disrupt the property quite a bit, meaning that natural beauty that everybody loves.
Right.
Yeah, the whole point why you're trying the agritourism.
The whole point, yeah. So the agritourism angle, it makes sense, because I could do everything that I wanted to do on a small scale, and it would have no development requirements. Nothing would have to be disturbed on the property, because there's already a great deal of impervious surface that was created by the original builder of that property. So, it's the legislation supports it. However, it's the gray area, the gray area. When the task force came together to create that agritourism legislation, they wanted that gray area there so that they could give PGM the opportunity to take the least stringent interpretation of the rules to help farmers. I don't know if, I don't know why they're not doing that for me. I don't really want, I don't want to say it's because of race or it's because of X, Y, or Z.
Right.
But they can't make it make sense. So when something doesn't make sense, I start with logic first, because I'm not a person who pulls the race card. I never have. Never needed to, because I've never faced anything like this before, right? But when something doesn't make sense, you have to start asking questions. And I'm very detail-oriented, very thorough. So if every time I come around with like a different question and get answers and it's not adding up, then you start to wonder, well, what's going on here? You can't help but to start asking, what's going on?
What kind of answers have you gotten so far?
Well, I have a lot of speculation, other people's opinions about what's going on. To tell you the truth, I feel like it's not just one thing. I think there are a number of variables. I think you have quite a few categories that people who are opposing the project fall into. You have some people that are opposing it because they don't understand what it is and they need clarity. You have some people that are opposing it because they just don't want change at all.
Right.
Period. You have some people that might be opposing it because they don't like the fact that a black woman bought the property. I can't say that for sure, but that could be people falling in that category too. You also have classism. I mean, when you really look at, I'm checking quite a few boxes when it comes to people that have been known to be hateful towards certain groups. You have people that don't like black people. You have people that are sexist. You also have people that don't like people they perceive as wealthy. And so then you have check for me, right? And I'm not a La Plata native. That's another,
That homegrown,
generational. So I'm a transplant.
Right.
Long name in one of the founding families of Charles County.
I mean, it's so many reasons why people might not like it. It's for me to even try to figure it out. It's no point in trying to. The people who don't like it for certain reasons, like race or whatever, there is nothing that I can do to please them or change their hearts or minds. So I won't even try. But for the people who want clarity, or the people who want to just make sure that I'm good folks and that me and my family are good people, I have no problem showing them who we are. I have no problem. I'm humble enough to say, okay, get to know me and give me a chance, because I understand people want to know who's living next to them and who's going to be, in the area. Also, people thinking that people are really afraid because of the rising crime. And unfortunately, people correlate crime with black people coming into the area because there is a correlation. There's a correlation, but correlational studies do not imply causality. I mean, you can assume, but just because two things exist doesn't mean there's causality.
Oh, microphone.
There's not causality.
Right.
So correlation is not causality. So I think that people think, it's like redlining. It's redlining.
That's still a thing. Definitely.
Redlining, I don't want to live in an area that's ghetto either, right? But what does ghetto mean, right? For me, ghetto doesn't equate to black. Ghetto is just about something being kind of like...
like the mindset, the mentality.
Crime or like things that are not nice, having a bunch of potholes in the road. When I say ghetto, that's what I mean.
A lack of infrastructure.
Yeah. I'm not talking about, or I might call myself ghetto if I go out in public with a bonnet on, but I laugh it off, right? So I just think that there's a number of reasons why people would oppose the project. I don't think that everyone's supposed to think it's a good idea, but I think enough people think it's a good idea that I need to move forward.
Well, that's what we do this podcast, right? Highlight and keep moving forward from there.
Get the message out there.
Comment section, we coming right back. We got a couple comments to catch up on. We're going to make this happen on here too as well. Cheryl says you have the first and only application for tourism. Counties allowing neighbors to circumvent the laws. Pascal says we also have farms currently offering glamping without anyone all up in their business. Are you aware of this?
Yes, I'm aware. So what I was told is that There are absolutely other farms and other people that don't even have agricultural land that are doing events and glamping and a number of things without permits. And here's what I've been told about Charles County. Charles County was very small and nobody really bothered anybody. So you could throw up a shed or build something on your property for the most part and no one's really going to complain or report it. Things like that went on for a long time, I was told. Right now, I feel like people are discriminating, whether, I don't know if it's based on race or what, but people are discriminating more for whatever reason about who they allow to do certain things or where they allow certain things to be done, right? And so, remember I was saying I check a lot of boxes for why people might not like the project?
Right.
One other box I forgot to mention, and my real estate agent made a comment when I saw the property and told her I wanted to put a contract on it. She was like, yeah, the property's beautiful. Everybody loves it. It's known as the icon of Port Tobacco Road. And I was like, oh, okay.
I drive past it a lot. Me and my wife, every time I look at the house, like, what? For years. Like,
I thought she was just being a saleswoman, right? Like, she wants me to be into it and be like, yeah, I'm going to buy this property. Well, she wasn't lying. She wasn't lying. And then the other box that I check is following up behind Joe Greases, who was loved and adored by almost the entire community.
Big shoes to fill.
Right?
Yeah,
Big shoes, right?
Icon.
Big shoes. I'm just like, man, it's like, it's hard work getting in here trying to get this done and have people open-minded to it. It's a number of things going on.
Bill Doss has another comment here. We got Bill Hey, first of all, appreciate all the comments from everybody. Absolutely, I'm all for open discussion. He says there's a stream that runs on the back of your property that runs into the Port Tobacco River. This is another issue.
So basically, the stream back. We'll ask him what the issue is.
Bill.
What are the topographical issues or barriers that you're mentioning?
Another comment too, as well. Actually, there's a couple comments here. We're gonna sum this one up. How was the Board of Commissioners?
Board of Commissioners?
Charles County government. How have they been involved as far as reaching out, as far as your ongoing plan to for this particular project?
They're aware.
Any help? Any?
I think I'm wondering if I would be getting more help if there wasn't a lot of turmoil and distraction going on amongst the commissioners. I feel like there have been some attempts to get involved, but if I'm just being honest, I think many of them are distracted right now.
Right.
I think my situation isn't a high priority because with the things that I'm learning about what's going on in the county and the history of certain things, it's like a lot going on right now with just a lot of drama. I think it's really usurping their attention. I think there's like a hyper focus on resolving some of those issues that have nothing to do with my project. So
Makes sense.
getting help from them right now, I think is challenging. Maybe it would be different. I don't know that all of the commissioners truly support the project.
Right.
Yeah.
Any speculation on that? Any idea?
I won't say it because I don't like spreading things if it's not a fact, but I have a hunch. I mean, you know how you kind of, you get a feeling that some people really think about it. If I'm in District 1, I've been told that District 1 is the last remaining predominantly white conservative district in the county.
Shit, we in District 1 right now, chilling.
And I don't know if it's true or not, but these are the things that I'm told, right? And so I think that the power shifting or people's perception of power and stuff, I don't know. I don't like politics, by the way.
But you're not using it as a platform to run in a couple years.
Yeah. The thought of it turns my stomach. Listen, I want to be wealthy. I don't want to be famous, and I don't like public. I don't like a lot of public attention for obvious reasons. I've lived my life this long doing business at several brick and mortar businesses, and this is the first time I've had to deal with this. And I have navigated far more complex zoning and building permit situations. So what people would love to have the public believe is that I was just an uninformed applicant that didn't understand the legislation. That is the narrative that some people would like to be out there to explain away certain things, but most people who know me very well, they know. If you know me, you know.
Detail.
Yeah.
You know, you about your business.
Yeah.
So as far as PGM, where do you stand at today with them in the office?
They have, so we were talking about farms, right? Other farms being able to do things. One of the things I was told is that the reason why those farms and other people are able to do things that are not compliant is because PGM is not proactively. They don't enforce things proactively. They told me they don't have the resources to do that. So they only respond to complaints. That's what I was told. So I was told that a long time ago. Now with my attitude, I'm not a person who is big on snitching. I definitely don't like to hurt other entrepreneurs and business owners because I've been there, and it hurts when you take a punch to the gut, right? Because somebody's hating on you or jams up your operations. For a lot of months, I did not put in any formal complaints about other farms or what other people were doing. I would bring it up to them in general terms and say, I know there are other farms doing this. Why is it that they're able to do it? And I was told because it has to be a complaint. Well, a lot of the people from the community who are supporting me started putting in complaints. I put in some of my own. Not so much that I'm complaining because I don't like those farms, but I really think it's a broken system when you almost have to do that for PGM to be able to give you answers, just to make sure there's equity in how things are being enforced, right? Like if you are going to have a public event, you need a public event permit, and there is no approval or grandfathering for public events. There's no approval for perpetuity, right? And even with agritourism, I'm the first and only applicant for agritourism, and so once I brought up the complaints and that was brought to the forefront, some of the things that were said were, well, they're grandfathered. Well, technically, I understand the concept of grandfathering. However, grandfathering as a term doesn't exist in the Charles County zoning ordinance, but a non-conforming use does. And in order to get approved to be a non-conforming use, there's a process. There's an application fee. And if you were to look up these farms and these other businesses that are doing certain things, you would be able to see as public record the permit history. You can see trade permits if they had electrical work done or different things. You can see site development plans. You can see non-conforming use, building code violations. It's all public record. So if you look up these, what happened is the people who support me started looking up these things. They started going to the websites that some of the farms have, and they started putting in addresses, and they saw different events and different things. And it was just like, wait a minute, some of this is agritourism. It's not just agriculture. And some of it wasn't just agritourism. It was actually something that would constitute the need for a public event permit, like, for instance, having food trucks, because that triggers health department.
Yeah, well,
there's no way around certain things. There's no way around certain things, right? Again, there's no grandfathering for stuff like that. So PGM, my relationship with PGM right now is still one where I'm being open-minded, trying to give them an opportunity to look into these things and provide answers that make sense. But so far, I can honestly say it doesn't feel like the answers are making sense, and it doesn't feel like there's equity for whatever reason.
So you're working with the NAACP too as well?
I would prefer not to speak on that.
Okay.
Understood.
I'd prefer not to speak on that.
Okay.
I will say this.
Legally, we'll let that one be.
There are people in the community and agencies and organizations that have gotten wind of what's happening with my situation, and it has raised brows. Yeah. So we'll see.
That's why we're here, though.
Stay tuned. We'll keep reporting on the sidelines. I want to get back to the comments, too, as well. So there's a couple of individuals here mentioning about the sanitation, commercial restrooms maybe issues, not issues. Do you want to talk on that too as well? Clear the air on that one?
Yeah, I had Lisa LaShaw from the health department and Mark Vander out to the property to do a site visit. They thought the idea was wonderful. She actually said, she was like, oh, this is definitely not. She saw that there was already a lot of impervious surface. And she even mentioned the possibility, she didn't like commit to it, but she was brainstorming. She was like, we probably could even get you approved to use the bathrooms in the home. Because if you're only talking about having, a couple of RVs or this or that, that's fine. But even if they don't allow that, the reason why they were there for the site visit is because I had perk tests done on the property. And guess what? Even if I do need to put in bathhouses or build and develop the property, it did perk satisfactorily at several sites for fan mount systems.
Okay.
So yes, it actually could meet that criteria.
You gonna do it?
If I have to. But that's the thing. What people need to understand who are opposing the project, they're really going to have to decide what's important to them. Preservation of this beautiful property that they love, or just trying to, stop me. Because the thing is, if I get, I can get approved for the financing, I can get the construction loan to do all of this stuff. But then what happens 10 years later, 20 years later, if I want to sell the property, how nice would it be if it could be restored just to how it was originally? That'll be a lot harder if you have a bathhouse that's been created and it's been turned into like something more permanent, like a campground or an RV park. Why would anybody even want that, right? When you could simply just approve it under a farm stay under agritourism with no development requirements. But the health department's on board. State Highway Administration has no objection to my project. All the opposition is at the local level, not at the state. So Lisa LaShaw came on site. She's the one, Mark Vander came on site, and they actually have a much clearer understanding. And when they saw how the property was situated, even with the stream, when you have a stream like that and you have wetland, you have what's called a resource protection zone. It's a buffer. And depending on the stream, it can be like a stream order 1, stream order 2, stream order 3. Depending on the order of the stream, that's how wide your buffer has to be. So my buffer for that stream is 100 feet. I still have plenty of space to be able to do what I want to do, and still all natural resource conservation things are intact. Keep in mind, I have a soil conservation plan with the USDA. They've been out for a site visit. So I actually have been able to put things in place and get funding to do things that's going to help the property be restored and to be to be restored to a better condition. Because even building that house there and all that pavement that's in the back that was put there, that was harmful to the natural environment. So now here I am getting creative with USDA and how to mitigate all of the impervious surface that was created. And you know how I'll do that? Planting a pollinator habitat, a 1,200-foot hedgerow. Those are things that will help that property. It will help with soil erosion. People who talk about the soil drainage being bad, the root systems of these different things will help to absorb that excess moisture. And part of the reason why my property is so soggy, I guess, is all of the development around, and we're at the bottom of the valley.
Oh, yeah.
All of these rooftops and concrete and all this other stuff going on everywhere else, it has an impact, because now when it rains, that water comes down much more fast instead of naturally absorbing into the soil if those house rooftops and building rooftops and pavement wasn't there. So I'm actually mitigating problems that were created before I even got the property.
Sound like you need to go knock on a few neighbor doors.
Right.
So yeah, I'm very familiar with the stream. I know the stream order. I have the and all of that is actually reflected on my plan, because the RPZ zone has to be depicted and shown. And there are certain things you can do in an RPZ zone. That's actually regulated by MDE, Maryland Department of Environment. So there are actually things you can even do in a resource protection zone if you wanted to. It's like a handful of things that they approve.
Gotcha. Comment section, which I comment on that too as well. But as I read a few more of what you got here, Commissioner Bolin, hop in the comment section. What's going on? How you doing today? Friend of the podcast, been on multiple times. Always good to have a sitting commissioner come in the comment section, talking what we're talking about. So comment for you. He said he has offered to come visit the farm several times. I've offered assistance. Please don't misconstrue. I have supported her efforts for agritourism within the current zoning laws, no different than any other farm in the county.
I'm sure I'm sure he believes that. You know, I don't know that I agree wholeheartedly that, you know, he has offered to come to the property. I will say that when I initially contacted all of the commissioners on January 18th, no one responded initially for weeks. Eventually, and I know because they're busy and they get a lot of emails, they have assistants that actually like check their emails, try to help them filter through things, and you know, because it's overwhelming how many emails they get. But Commissioner Bowling, if I don't know if you're willing to put in the comments, like what kind of help do you feel that you've offered me? Because one thing I've noticed about people when they are attempting to be helpful, sometimes people can only help you with what they have to give, but that's really not the help you need, and it's really not help at all. Because, like, for instance, telling me about certain grants and different things, that might not be the help that I need. I mean, obviously, I've already gotten approved for some grants and things. I'm not saying that I'm not open to suggestions or mentorship or listening to people, but I do pretty good, you know, on my own with researching things and getting my needs met. So the kind of help that I'm looking for is about equity and the agritourism legislation, and you know, wondering why the spirit and intent of that bill is not being, why that is being ignored with my project. And I feel the commissioners, all of them, I feel have the power to have that conversation, and I think that they could actually resolve this if they all got together and cooperated and actually talked about specifically my project and really took the time to listen to some of those deliberation recordings from the task force, because I listened to all of them. And it's like probably 30, 40 hours worth of recording. So your average person probably is not going to do that. But anybody that's interested, you probably would really understand my concerns if you did listen. If you did listen to those deliberations.
Keep reading some more comments here too. Well, another one from Commissioner Bolin. He says offered access to programs to assist new and beginning farmers, loan assistance, local organizations that help new and minority farmers.
That's true.
Had a town hall to assist beginning and minority farmers access funding, mentorship, and land.
Yeah. But honestly, those aren't the problems I'm having.
Yeah, what you have described.
Those aren't the problems I'm having. Yeah, so I understand he's doing what he feels like what he feels is helpful, but that's not the help that I need at this time. I need something different.
I'd like to
go ahead. I see you looking at it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to pose, and I'm gonna read it, but I'm gonna pose a question after I read it. So we got another one from Bill Dotson, and you know, he's responded to Pascal, another one of the comments. You're familiar with Pascal. And he said, but you know, would you have Commissioner Bowling allow a new person coming into the county to ignore the rules, codes, and zoning laws? And I'm assuming, obviously, this is a conversation about you. That's probably what he's referring to. But Mr. Dotson, I would ask if you could elaborate on the rules, codes, and zoning laws that you feel are being negated or being ignored or violated in this discussion. If you could elaborate a little bit more, that way we may be able to address those here on the podcast tonight. So if you could elaborate, let us know what's going on, what is being ignored and violated, and then hopefully we can get some answers to your questions.
Yeah, I like for people to expand, just like the comment about the stream.
Right.
Sometimes people will make a blanket statement, but I like people to qualify things.
Right, absolutely. That's only understandable. It's fair.
I think we're somewhat caught up here too as well. All right. Keep throwing your questions here, everybody. Definitely appreciate it. I like the conversation I have in the chat too as well.
That question that he has for her, you know, that's the question I have for PGM and for the commissioners. It's not why would someone be able to come into the county and not have to follow the rules? Why would they create a rural task force to come up with changes to the legislation to try to help farmers. And it wasn't just older farmers or existing farmers. It was also to entice new people to get into farming. Why would PGM ignore the rules for a person coming into the county just because I wasn't born here or I haven't been farming for generations or what? Why I feel like that's actually the issue I'm having is that the rules are being kind of ignored and the gray areas are being leveraged against me, not to help me. And the purpose of that agritourism legislation was to be helpful and to make sure PGM could take the least stringent interpretation of the legislation. They have a choice in what they're making me do. They don't have to do it and they could still be covered and I could be covered. It's a choice that they're making and I wonder why they're making that choice. That's what it boils down to.
Give me a few names.
I know you want
Well,
PGM.
Had to try.
PGM. I mean, well, let's just say this.
I want first and last, government.
PGM. So I think Deborah Carpenter is one of the people at PGM. She's been involved. I don't know that it's her personally that is making these decisions. I believe there are conversations taking place with county attorneys and economic development department. You know, I think it's a number of people. So it's really hard to name names. I don't like to name names when I don't know for a fact, you know, who's responsible for what. But I do know that the commissioners have the power to fix my problem right now. They absolutely have the power
to get involved.
Yeah. It's a number of ways they could do it, but one way they have is there's under the Charles County Right to Farm Ordinance. There's a little blurb in there, Chapter 100. There's a blurb in there that says the commissioners can take whatever actions they deem necessary to protect a person's right to farm and engage in agricultural operations.
So what's the holdup?
That's a very direct.
I think their hands are tied up with some other things. They have. You know, people have agendas, people have priorities, they prioritize based on whatever, and I just happen to think that my project is not a priority right now. I'm not saying that's wrong, I just think that that's what it is. I think that it's just, they have other things.
What it sounds like, you just haven't greased lined enough pockets. This is what it sounds like.
Really?
Not enough donations.
Not enough.
And sometimes
donations.
$10,000 a plate.
Hey, at one point I had to ask my husband, I was like, hey babe, like, do you think the reason why I'm not getting any help is because I haven't like tried to bribe anybody? I'm like, is that supposed to happen?
It's always campaign season. It's always campaign season.
There are some commissioners I think that are trying to help, but I still think that I think some commissioners might feel a little helpless in what they can do right now. I don't know that they're helpless, but I really think the priority is on I think the focus is on other things right now.
So, Dave, you got to say something?
No, go ahead, you got it.
Okay, so, actually, hold on a second. So, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, we're not in our original studios. I'm working off the MacBook. Got like 5 comments up at a time. Let me scroll it real quick. Where was that comment at? That was a good one. All right, here you go. So, once again, we keep talking your story, and it's we're getting to that. Someone asked a question, and I haven't brought this up yet, but I'm glad this was posed. Obviously, harassment, threats, letters, law enforcement. Can we talk how local sheriff's office is taking care of?
The opposition on like more like a physical, like actual.
You know, it got ugly, and I don't know if it's leveling out now. We shall see. But I was quite surprised when I got that letter out my mailbox. I haven't received any threats of violence, but I've definitely received nasty grams and things that are not appropriate. Things that the Charles County Sheriff's Office, everything that I've reported, they have decided to group it all together under, I believe they're attempting hate crimes, and I'm not sure what else they've come up with. Shout out to Captain Bean. Captain Bean, I think he's retiring like in a week or two, but he actually went out of his way to reach out to me when he heard from one of his sheriffs, one of the police officers that took one of my reports. And he was like, he just wanted to apologize for the experience that I'm having in Charles County. He was like, he hopes that I know that this is not a reflection of the entire county. He recognizes that we have a lot of people in the county that don't like change, and that they have, these issues are real. They exist. And he wanted me to know that they're going to do everything in their power to make me feel safe and protected. So he actually put my property on a patrol schedule. And they have to patrol my property a minimum of 3 times a day. They have the code to the gate, and they come in and they have all the counts for the animals, the number of animals that I have. And they're supposed to come there and just make sure everything's okay. Make sure the animals are safe, I'm safe, my family's safe. He wanted to do that for me. And I asked him, I said, well, do you think the people are that crazy? That I should be worried? And he was like, if we just don't want to we don't need to take those kind of chances. Right. And I think probably, I'm not sure how long he's been around, but this was a while ago. I'm not sure if it was like 20 years ago, 10 years ago, but with the homes that got burnt down, you all knew about that?
10, 20 years ago? Ooh. Yeah. Not top of the head.
So there was, I think it was in Bryan's Road, perhaps, there were these affluent, really big houses being built, and there were all black people that were having them built and living there. And apparently this is when there was like an influx of black people coming into Bryan's Road. And so apparently there was like a circle of houses on a court, I think, and like maybe 5 or 6 of them burnt down to the ground pretty much. And they found out it was actually arson. And when they got to the bottom of it, they actually found out that some of the people responsible for the arson were people in the fire department.
Huh? No, I didn't hear about this one.
It was racially motivated.
In Bryan's Road about 20 years ago. I see you, man. That's about 25 years ago. DT, I see you too as well.
I'm not really sure.
Yo, someone probably has more information on this one too as well. I'm not familiar with this story.
No.
I wasn't either until I actually saw. There was Tracy Wilkins from NBC released
Hunters Ridge neighborhood, more towards Indian Head.
Yeah, and so it was like, what? Because I'm thinking like, if 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that's
2000.
It's a long time, but it's still kind of.
That's still close.
It's still kind of,
fresh there,
Yeah, it's like, so that just lets you know that it doesn't mean it's the majority of people that would do something like that, but it lets you know that there are people that are still alive that hold those philosophies and that have that kind of hate in their heart.
And they worked in the fire department too.
Isn't that ironic? Like, that's heartbreaking.
Hunters Brook, okay.
Was it
Thank you, Laura,
Brook?
Jane, and Cynthia too as well. Thank you everybody for that.
If y'all could, please throw a link if you could find an article or something related to that we could kind of go back and dive into. Not necessarily in the podcast, but just we can look it up later because I definitely want to kind of get a little bit more info because this is news to me.
That's what made me think like, okay, well, do I feel safe? I mean, I don't know. I feel like it might just be like a handful of people that are doing this.
Yeah.
It might just be it might be one person that's doing it, right? But I don't know. The thing is,
has there been anyone strange show up on your property?
Yes.
Or like to your door, or just like you
looking
can see them lurking
in the window.
Ain't no way.
You got
no way.
Who did you find out who it was? Were you able to get them?
So Cheryl, shout out to Cheryl and her sister. We were on the property. We saw this man looking in the window of the house. We had the driveway blocked off. He parks his car right there, gets out and walks down my driveway and is looking in the window. And so when we see him, we're like coming from the barn area.
What time of day is this? It's nighttime or?
No, it was like 4:06 p.m.
So
I looked at my watch. I knew what time it was because we had
got off work
early evening.
Yeah.
And I was just like, excuse me, sir, can we help you? And when he saw us, he turned around and was walking fast. But it's a long driveway. So we were walking fast too. And we were like, sir. And then Cheryl wouldn't let it go. She was like, sir, excuse me, sir, excuse me. And she just wouldn't stop. And when he got in his car, he had to go back around the barns and make a U-turn to get back out. So when he made the U-turn, we stopped him and was just like, can we help you? And he was like, he didn't even, this man looked so shady. I don't even know what I don't know what his ethnicity was. I'm not really sure, but she took a picture of his license plate, and I put this up. I reported it to the police. I put it up on the Nextdoor app. The Nextdoor app, that's another whole conversation. I put that up. Of course, people keep getting my posts removed, even though they're just facts and not. I mean, people are. I think the reason why I think people are getting my posts removed on Nextdoor, I suspect it's because maybe they fear that someone's going to recognize it or know who that person was and link them back to someone or whatever. You know, I also had a strange car, and this could have been anybody. It could have been someone just observing the beauty of the farm. But they were parked directly across from, like, if you were to walk out my front door and look straight across the street, they were right there. So if they were really trying to admire the beauty of the property, seems like they would have either been further down where the pond is or either further up where the pasture areas are. But they were right there. They rolled the window down, and they sat there for a good 10 or 15 minutes. I was out in the pasture feeding the alpacas, so I took my phone out and just started
Charles County got alpacas, by the way. I didn't know that.
Baby.
Yeah, thanks to my husband. Thanks to my baby over there. It was his idea.
we got alpacas.
All the good ideas. But no, that they were sitting there, and I pulled out the phone, and they didn't leave right away, and then they rolled their window up and left after a while. That could have been anybody, but it's still because of everything that's going on. It was like, oh, is this okay? Maybe I do need to watch my back. You know what I mean? Like, what in the world is going on?
So you didn't get to see exactly who it was, or the police arrest anything?
No. I just have, and it's hard to even make out the make and model of the vehicle. You can see the color, but because it was so far, I tried to zoom in as much as I could, but I was all the way in the pasture, and they were all the way across the street from the house.
Got you.
So that was one incident. Then last week, I went to my P.O. box. Last week, I went to my P.O. box with my baby girl on my way to USDA to sign my contract for funding.
Hey.
Stop by the P.O. box first, and I usually go through it while I'm standing in there so I can throw away any spam and stuff right in the trash. And I saw this odd-looking letter because it didn't have a return address, which is unusual.
Shocking.
Opened it up.
We know a little bit about that.
Opened it up, and it was a nasty gram, another nasty gram telling me all about myself.
Was it typed?
It was typed.
Oh.
It was typed.
We got to compare fonts. Maybe the
Yeah,
same person.
The other person was the other note was handwritten. This one,
You can get a magazine one next.
This person, the person who typed that letter, it seemed like they really have some issues with me for whatever reason. I don't think they like I don't think they like that I'm a self-made millionaire. I think I don't know. It's like they tried to take a lot of shots, but it really was just like people like that I feel bad for because they're clearly in a lot of pain. People hurting people hurt people, so it could be somebody that's either going through something right now, making them unable
but you
to
shouldn't be the
celebrate
target
others.
of.
I shouldn't be the target, but
I mean, she's dealing with characters straight from a Dick Tracy comic. What you expect?
It's more like the Hardy Boys.
I mean, they told me all about myself.
That's
they told
crazy.
me all about myself. Told me that I was being a spoiled brat and pulling the race card. And I'm just like, I have never pulled a race card. In fact, I was the person who would tell my other black friends to not take things so seriously or to not always assume that it's a race issue. It could be just that person's personality. Everything isn't always racism.
Right.
I was like, people, I'm like, it's the times we living in now, people don't care about white or black. People care about green. That's how I used to talk. I was wrong.
And they definitely don't care about your green from what you're talking about.
I was wrong. I'm like, I thought people, because everybody you got to keep in mind the kind of people I've been dealing with. I've been dealing with some, people with affluence and, people like I'm accustomed to hanging around Tyson's Corner. My son went to the Potomac School, so being out like McLean, Virginia. He's at MIT now. I just have a different exposure to other kind of people, and I've never had any problems, at least not outwardly. I don't know what they were saying behind my back, if anything, but I've been, even the Women's Presidents Organization I told you about earlier, I was one of the only black people. I was the only black person in that chapter.
Oh wow.
They were wonderful. Still have people now who I still am in communication with. They were wonderful. Never any shade that I could see. Never any shade. So I'm not one of those people that pulls a race card, you know? That's not me, but I do want logic. I have a very scientific mind, so I'm like 2 + 2 = 4. It doesn't equal 5. If you're saying it equals 5, I'm gonna be looking at you like, what? Why?
Yeah, come on now, you ain't talking right.
Yeah, why do you insist that 2 + 2 = 5? You know, I'm just that person. So that's where we are now. I would tell the community now, I'm not dead set on saying that I'm being discriminated against because of race, but I think it is becoming clear that there is some discrimination
going on.
Yeah, there is inequity, there is disparity in how things are being handled with me, especially now that we see some of the explanations being given for why other farms are not being held to the same standard. And the grandfathering clause, that answer is not going to be sufficient.
Tired. They ain't cutting it.
It's not cutting it.
We ain't doing that.
We need to, if we're going to talk about grandfathering, we need to talk about non-conforming use, something I'm very familiar with because my child care center has a non-conforming use for zoning right now. Because when I originally opened the center, the zoning was something different. And then because of Andrews Air Force Base and the flight path, they had a change. Now, if I were to leave, you know, no one would be able to come in and have a child care center there anymore because I'm grandfathered in. But it's a non-conforming use. You see what I mean? And
right.
It's an actual thing. And to get a non-conforming use in Charles County, the requirement is you pay your fee. You have to demonstrate either that you, were approved at some point for that thing, or that you have been doing that thing uninterrupted. You know, there has not been longer than a year that's gone by, and I'm not sure if it can be a change in ownership. Because really, if the non-conforming use conveys with ownership, then technically I'm grandfathered in because Joe Griffiths was doing agritourism, and I'm sure plenty of you can attest to that.
Did he have any issues?
I don't know if he had issues because remember back then, a lot of people were doing agritourism and it wasn't legal. Farms were doing things on their properties. Everything you do on your property is put into some type of use category, whether it's retail, education, institution. You know, it's all these different like use categories. So everything that you do has something. So if you're a farm, you're an agricultural operation. Prior to agritourism being a use, things like pumpkin patches or like having different things on your farm technically wasn't legal. Wasn't a bad thing, but it technically wasn't legal. And they knew that a lot of the farms were doing these things and they liked it and they wanted to see it continue. So they said, let's come up with something to cover these farms and new people coming in that want to do this so that they, you know, can do these things. Because it's really, essentially, it's mixed use. It's mixed use pretty much.
Mr. Bowling with another comment. The Amish have been getting complained on increasingly over the last 6 months as well as they expand their footprint in the county. From the overall view, it isn't just Miss Barrett. Others have been just not as publicized as much.
I believe that. I believe that. Like I said, I'm not convinced 100% it's just about race. But I do believe there's some element of entitlement from the people who are here and established. I think that they feel they have I think they feel entitled that they were here first. Now, we're not going to get into that because we already know who was here first.
That's a different conversation.
After that, right? After colonization, then people feel entitled like it's their land. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But only 0.52% of farmland in the United States is owned by black people.
You said 0.52?
0.52% of farmland in U.S. is owned by black people. And farmers, of all farmers in the United States, it was roughly 2% are black. So keep in mind, to be a farmer, you don't have to own the farmland.
Right.
So farmland. So imagine what the statistics, they don't even have the number for black women. They didn't even parse that out. So that's even less.
Sound like I need to put a cornstalk in my backyard or something.
Hey, man.
Join the list.
So I'm just trying to, it's like what I think is happening now is that, a lot of black people are coming into affluence and wealth and working hard and improving their life. And And now there are things that we have access to that we've never had before. You know, nobody in my family prior to me, you know, was in a position to buy, you know, a $1.15 million property. You know, it's almost like where do you start? You have to be able to start somewhere. And a lot of us want the same things that we see other people have. We're working hard. We're figuring out how to play catch up. So if we catch up, help us out, because we're doing it fair and square. You know, the money that my family has, it's legit money. It's not drug money. It wasn't obtained illegally. It was through sustained hard work, sacrifices.
Hey, come on now.
I'm talking about if people who know me know how hard I work and how hard I still work to this day.
Right.
So for me to get a little 20 acres and want to do a little something with it, it hurts. It hurts to see how hard and painful this has been, when all I thought I was doing was bringing something fun and cool to the county that was in line with the Charles County Comprehensive Plan: natural resource conservation, agriculture, land preservation, tourism, diversity, inclusion. I mean, I'm checking all those boxes, and I thought it was a no-brainer. And you have like ideas like the La Plata Farm Park. They want to bring that into fruition. They don't have funding for it. It's not quite the same as what I'm doing, but kind of similar concept when you're using like outdoor space and you're trying to like make a farm be more than just a farm, where people can actually come and like do things. I was able to secure funding. I think for the Waldorf Park they're trying to do, which isn't a farm, I think they needed about $3 million. I was able to secure funding for my project. I didn't need the county or anybody else. I was able to pull it off. So I'm just like, help me to do what you all say you all want in this county.
I would obviously your fight is what you're going through is this is wild just hearing this whole thing, but I wouldn't don't give up. Yeah, just keep grinding away. There's a lot of people in this comment section that support what you're trying to do too as well.
Thank you everybody.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of supporters, people that reach out to me about, you know, to make this podcast happen. So there's a lot in your corner. So whatever it is whatever it's needed to do. And I see BJ here, you know, just commenting too as well. Like I said, it's always good to have a city commissioner in here, but whatever can be done as far as to make things easier, because at the end of the day, I think we all want to see the same thing. You know, Charles County win. You know, good citizens helping out the community. Also, too, as well, businesses making a good profit, and it turns back around, be able to get reinvest into the said community. So, I think a lot of people are on the same side here. It's just how we're going about it is different thoughts of trains, and those trains sometimes collide with each other. So
definitely.
No, you're doing a good thing. It's solid.
Thank you. I mean,
I need to see these alpacas.
I see the outpouring of support more so recently, and what gave me hope is that I have so many people, including people that aren't black, white people in my district and in the area, private messaging me, telling me they want to speak with me, and telling me what you're experiencing. It's real. Some people don't want to admit that it still happens, but it does. And you don't give up. We love what you're doing. I actually, so far with the Airbnb, I have quite a few inquiries coming in. I'm sure some of them are spies and people trying to just kind of be nosy and see what I'm up to. But I do have a lot of people in the area that are trying to book because they just want to come and experience the property. So many people have been driving past this property and so curious about it. Now it's like, wow, I'm sharing it. It's open to the public. You can come and you can experience it. And a lot of people are wanting to do it. And they're from La Plata. They're in the area. I mean,
staycation. That's what I said, right? I want to get a little bit into that too as well. We're about an hour 45. We're gonna start wrapping up here soon too as well. Not just yet. Comment from BJ, explaining why the agritourism bill I proposed to our delegation for 3 straight years is and was important. PG has the bill, our delegates supported it. St. Mary's has the bill, our delegates supported it. Our bill for Charles County, they did not.
Let me clarify what he's talking about. And I'm not really, I mean, it would be great if they did pass that legislation, but that's not the legislation there is legislation that did get passed, and in its present form can support everything that I'm trying to do. The legislation that he's talking about is when you can use an agricultural structure for like weddings, and you can have the public come into your agriculture, like a barn, for instance, without having to meet building performance standards like International Building Code and things like that, like sprinkler systems, ADA, because they want people to be able to have the least stringent interpretation of the law, right? They want to make it easy so you don't have to do all the things that everybody else would have to do because you're a farm. That didn't pass. It passed, but only for 50 people. What he's talking about is they want it to be for 200 people. And you have some people that feel like 50, that's fine. 200, we need to start talking about handicap accessibility, sprinkler safety. 50 people, yeah, let's give them that. And I feel 50 is a good number. I'm satisfied with 50. 200, that's great. But I know some people have actually seen situations where a barn has burnt down with people in it who couldn't get out because there were no emergency exit lights and things like that. Because once the smoke, that fire smoke is like black. Almost. And even though the doors were like open, apparently it got so thick so fast, people didn't know where to go and burnt up. And people had footage of this. And some of the people who voted against that he's talking about apparently saw that. So they're like, 200, that's a bit much. 50, you can still make you can have a small wedding with 50 people or a little retirement party for 50 people and make some money, and that's good enough. That's what he's talking about. I'm fine with the 50 because the legislation that is in place now is good enough for me to do everything I want to do. If you really think about what he's proposing and what he would like to see happen, a lot of people would love it because then it would open them up to be able to have bigger events. But think about it. If that passes, that would mean that the barn that I have, that means I could have 200 people coming in and out for events. Wouldn't that piss my neighbors off even more? Right?
Now we parking in your driveway.
Right.
Wouldn't that, because that's bigger impact. Now you have State Highway Administration and a lot of other people, health department, really wanting to know, how are you going to account for this? How are you going to keep people safe? 50 is the cutoff for State Highway Administration, what's called there is a trip generation. That's how they base decisions on about whether or not you need like traffic impact analysis and commercial ingress, egress, acceleration lanes, deceleration lanes. The threshold for State Highway Administration, according to John McAuliffe, who I speak with, is 50. If you're not going to have more than 50 people coming and going during peak hours, they're not really worried about you. They don't really want you. They're saying you don't have to really do much. You don't even really need to do all of that extra stuff. Like adequate public facility studies and things like that. The health department, State Highway Administration, they have all told me that they feel my project is so small scale. It's not like I'm building a housing complex but yet I'm being held to those standards as someone that's trying to build like a housing complex.
That gray area.
Yeah. Despite the agritourism legislation, it was supposed to get around all that.
And here we are today.
Yeah.
So that's where it's sitting at right now.
So right now it's sitting there. I have some things I'm working on, but I'm going to. So I feel like a lot of this has been a distraction. The harassment, I know a lot of you all saw the picture of my daughter that was put up with the nasty, filthy comments. She's only 11 years old. I will say everything that's happened, it had happened up to that point. I had remained poised and level-headed, but they were about to get angry black woman when they pulled that shit. Let me tell you.
Understandable. Don't
come on. Everybody knows. Don't bring the kids in.
Don't bring kids.
That's what kind of made me think, okay, whoever's doing this just might be a little unhinged and crazy because they're not playing by the rules. It's honor among thieves. You don't bring kids into this. Yeah. Now maybe they thought she was older than what she is because she's tall, she's kind of thick. My baby is 11 years old. And that filth that they had under there and that complete lie that they told about me apparently I saw a Mexican woman walking on my property on Route 6, and I told her to get off my property and walk in the road because she's on my property, and said that I was a racist. Okay. First of all, if you know how the property is situated, you know that's not even plausible.
Nah.
What's the chances that I happen to be at the same spot on a 20-acre property to be able to tell a woman to get off my property?
And somebody watching you the whole entire time as well.
And being watched the entire time.
And capturing perfect
and close,
audio.
I'm about to say close enough to catch the audio.
Close enough, right? Like, yeah. And then the other thing is, anybody who knows me know I'm not that kind of person. But you know what I think that was? I feel like that was a person who was trying to see. First, the people who were opposing me tried to use PGM to bully me and stop me and aggravate me. When they saw that wasn't working,
right.
I feel like now they tried to put a target on my back with the Latino community. Because you see, because if the Latino community thinks that I'm a racist, now they're going to be looking at me like, okay, I'm But fortunately, I think that most people knew that was some crap. There wasn't an ounce of truth to it. It was a completely fabricated story.
You throw enough dirt, it'll create mud eventually.
When the hate don't work, they start telling lies.
There you go. There you go.
Fabulous, right? Come on. Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm like,
ball drop. Every New Year's Eve. I'm playing that thing.
Have my baby girl on there. Y'all, look, whoever did that, you come on. Like, you really?
Yeah, that's
I think that's when the public really started paying attention. I think you had some people that might have been on the fence about my project. Like, maybe they didn't know if they liked it or not, or that I wasn't, maybe I just wasn't, I'm complaining about being mistreated, but I'm just mad I'm not getting my way. I think when some people started seeing this stuff that's going on, they were like, oh, wait, she's being targeted.
I remember a couple years ago. Well, actually, years ago. This is when I was Air Force over in my time in Oklahoma. We had a master sergeant that recently had got out. He was running for local office. And he said, Rick, I'm telling you, one day I'm sitting there chilling. Car breaks down in front of my house. All right, this lady, very attractive, in a red dress, gets out, knocks on my door. And he said, I looked at it, I was like, nah, that looks crazy right there. Because if I would have answered the door, she walks in, and then someone gets a picture or something like that too as well. Then look like the family man that I am, becomes something totally different. Yeah. So when you told that, it was like, it's interesting that I do believe in things that are controlled chaos and stuff like that. We saw that as a recent with some of the protests too as well a couple years ago. Bad faith actors doing certain things. So it's real.
It's real. I don't
know if that's your incident, but it does happen and has happened.
I don't think that the harassment and the foolishness, I don't think that is representative of Charles County at large. No. Or even District 1 at large. I really think it is. I think it's just, either one or a group of people that's just how they do things. But I don't think it is a representation, and that's why, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I will say, I think that some of what's been happening has been done to discourage me and to try to stall and bankrupt me. But I'm just here to say, since I have this stage right now, I'm not going anywhere.
Hey.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going bankrupt. Me and my family have made provisions where we will not be losing that property even if people stall us out for years. We're not going anywhere. In fact, it would behoove the public to be more supportive, because if I do have to do all the things they're asking me to do and follow through, then it's like I really could go full-blown RV park. I could I could go trailer park. I'm not a spiteful person, but I mean, if I have to do improvements and pay engineering costs, it's going to be probably $250,000. Then no, I don't want just 3 or 4 RVs. I'm gonna want 15, 20. I don't want just 5 campsites. I want at least 15 or 20.
Gotta make the money.
I'm gonna have to make my money back. So if they force my hand, I just think people aren't thinking. I don't think people are really thinking it through. You see?
I see. I took my glasses off. I still see.
You know, and like I said, I'm not a spiteful person. I'm not gonna cut my nose off to spite my face, but I'm here to stay. And I have, like I said, a publicly traded company backing me with the financing. If some of my own to spare, we're not going anywhere.
Not going nowhere. I'm good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, there it is. Charity, fantastic. Hey, we got one question. This is the last question we'll take too as well. Any just I know we kind of talked about it, but just to recap, exact issues of receiving a permit from this county. What exactly are they? Some of the issues you came across from permits.
One thing I noticed is that PGM, I kind of feel bad for them over there because they're short staffed. I noticed you will see the same person wearing like 3-4 different hats, having 3-4 different roles, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know she did that too. Oh, she's doing that too. I feel like I don't want to say there's a lack of competence, but PGM is known to give you a comment letter that has blatant errors in it, erroneous information or things that are just absolutely incorrect. Not even a matter of interpretation, but just outright incorrect. I had a very well-respected local attorney tell me she looked over everything that I have, and she pointed out some things that were outright incorrect. However, she didn't feel comfortable helping me publicly because her family is related to people she knows are in opposition.
Oh God.
It's really a tight-knit community. It's a tight-knit community here. You have civil engineers, you have attorneys, you have people who they might not be racist or anything, but if they know they don't want any problems with their family, or they don't want to be at a backyard barbecue being known as a person who helped somebody get their project through that they knew everybody didn't want.
Jesus Christ.
So now I'm gonna have to make sure all my people are out of the county.
Makes sense.
I will say this: it's not like PGM need to do some hiring. BJ, if you want to open up the,
they definitely need some.
Open up the doors.
There, they are really. I mean, they are overloaded. They need. I mean, and they can't be expected to like know the ordinance by heart. So they're going to make mistakes. But when you let them know they've made a mistake, they need to be able to look at that, especially if you can show them the black and white of it, and then they need to redirect. I think part of PGM, the problem I'm having with them is they originally saw my business plan, and then I realized that my original business plan there was an easier way for me to accomplish it as long as I was willing to cut it in half pretty much as far as the scale.
Right,
by going the agritourism route. You have some people that are accusing me of trying to take advantage of the agritourism legislation as a way to backdoor my project. I resent that. Because when you're a business person, it's called pivoting. It's called a pivot. You know, and if you can leverage things, it's okay to leverage things when you can change your mind, right? You have the right to change your mind and do something. And actually, really, all of the opposition, me and my husband laugh about it all the time. It really forced us to come up with an even more dope idea. Alpacas, like, come on, like
Charles County, we got alpacas now.
We got alpacas. Definitely. I mean, there might be some other in Charles County, but you know, I don't know if they're doing it how we doing it.
Hey, so I've asked, how does one visit your farm? What do we have to do?
Okay, so at this stage, because I am not approved for agritourism yet, I have an application that's in limbo that I'm working on. I'm letting it be in limbo because I'm having some other things being looked into before I proceed. But as of right now, PGM has gone on record publicly stating that Airbnbs are not regulated in Charles County, and I'm able to have the home used as an Airbnb. So you can actually, visit the Airbnb, and the health department said that Airbnbs, they don't regulate pools. So if you actually come to the Airbnb, you can actually swim in the pool. So that's a good amenity. You will be able to fish on the pond and, be able to meet
I've seen that. I've seen a few people out there fishing too as well.
Yeah. So, some of those people are people who are just neighbors who Joe Greases allowed them to do that. And when I got the house, they got in contact with me and asked if I minded if they continued. And I'm like, sure, I don't mind.
Keeping tradition alive.
Yeah. 4-H. I got 4-H. I have 4-H. I have Future Farmers of America. I have Wounded Warriors. I have Project Healing Waters for veterans with PTSD that want to come.
Hey.
it's like the animals are therapy. The property's a whole vibe.
It is.
It's a whole vibe. It's very therapeutic.
I'm gonna drive past it tonight on the way out.
Yeah, when y'all look, I'm getting ready to do an event for everyone who wants to come. I'm actually gonna have a private event where I invite my neighbors. Anybody within a certain radius or whatever can come on out and meet me. Come get to know me and my family. I think that would alleviate most people's concerns once they see we're good people. We're
Open
good,
bar
honest
too as well.
BYOB. BYOB. But yeah, I'm going to do that. So be on the lookout for, the Facebook page, because I'm going to be announcing. It's going to be just an event for me to let people come meet me. And if they have more questions, I was actually surprised I didn't get more questions. I thought people really needed more clarity about my project, but I didn't see very many questions.
There was questions in there. A lot of questions I was asking came from the comments too as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was a lot more confusion that I would have needed to clear up. So I'm just really hoping that people heard what I said this evening. And if you still feel like you don't like what you're hearing, I mean, I'm sorry that you feel like I'm bringing something to the county that you don't want, but I feel like it's something good, and I feel like a lot more people want it. My petition has almost almost 1,000 people, 1,000 signatures.
Okay.
Their petition had maybe about 150 signatures.
The people want it.
Hey,
Give the people what they want.
yeah, you had a lot of supporters in this comment section, and you also had Bill Dotson. So
Listen, me and Bill talked offline. I'm not saying that he doesn't have any opposition, but he told me he's a fair man. He's a businessman.
I've met Bill. I gotta take it. I saw you say about the interview earlier. I had to take a little shot at you.
Yeah,
Man,
Bill,
it's all love. So the game's a game, right? Omar from the Wire. Game's a game, baby. No, but that's
he's out here facilitating.
Yeah. So you better have armed security at this event too as well.
At this event. Listen, my armed security right over there. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Hey, you work security for a couple of events.
Oh, I am a security professional.
Are you?
I am. Yes.
All right.
Definitely am. So.
Well, all right. I might have to, work something out.
We will definitely exchange information. You are free.
There is no way nobody's coming on that property with those adorable animals. If those animals are going to cure any hate that's in anybody's heart the moment they step foot on the property, I'm telling you. It's
These
no
alpacas.
I'm saying we got alpacas.
The alpacas. It's just not just the alpacas. We got some exotic chickens in there that I just love. We got some ducks. We got some bunnies. Our newest rescue is an Angora bunny. The rescuing thing has really been something we rescue animals now.
Okay.
From
rescue animals.
Just real quick, you just go to local shelters or.
So some of them are like breeders or like for instance. Horse rescues will get horses that are from the wild or have been neglected or that are injured race horses that are no longer making their owners money, so they get discarded or possibly euthanized. Or like bunnies, for instance, if you have a bunny breeder, if they have unfavorable traits like the color of their eyes or they might be blind in one eye, you can't really sell that top dollar. So, and then they don't want to keep them because that's another mouth to feed. So they look for people like us to give them a forever home, and that's what we've been doing.
Nice.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
You also add some different flavor animals to the community.
Yeah.
Instead of your local fox and a bunch of deer. So.
Yeah, I mean, because I know we don't want to necessarily get what other people have, because when the tourists come, I'm actually going to be referring them to these other places so that they want to see goats, they want to see cows. If they want to, I'm going to actually send them to the other farmers.
Okay. Spreading the wealth.
Yeah, community, right?
Yeah.
That's what supposed
my
to do.
guidebook. If you go on my Airbnb link, you can look at my guidebook, and I'm adding in local businesses.
And where can we find the link?
Well, I can. You know what? I'll go back after it's over, and I will put the links in the section.
Hey, there you go.
There you go.
I will put the links on air. But if you go and you look up Charity's Hope Family Farm on Airbnb, you should find it. Or you can just look in the local area. It's not very many. It'll stand out.
Hey.
Yep.
I like it.
Shout out to the farm with the exotic animals since they took our zebras away from us last year. So we need
we had a couple
to replace.
Y'all, were you all the ones with the zebras?
That's PG County, right? PG County. Nah, don't do that to us. Don't do that. Somebody's gonna ask a whole lot of questions after this one.
Yeah, facts.
Nah. That's funny though. So, last comment I'll read. Angela Kendrick, great job, Charity. I admire you, respect what you're doing. You're very intelligent, extremely knowledgeable, and well spoken. Keep up the good work, and don't just get discouraged. Keep persevering.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Definitely support.
The support helps me. I was going to quit. I was definitely thinking about quitting. That's before I really was even letting people know the struggle I was having. And I did a post on Facebook, said I was thinking about giving up. And it was like everybody just swooned in and was like, you can't give up. You represent blah, blah, blah. You have to do this. Your success is our success. And I was like, oh, man, now I'm committed.
Yeah, got that gas tank back on F.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
No, it's one first. Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Absolutely. Yeah, but we're definitely interested in keep highlighting your journey as far as what we're trying to bring into Charles County. So, yeah, we'll love to have you back on sometime in the future. But yeah, you've been fantastic. You're great too as well. Not nervous at all. Yeah, you natural.
Really?
Yeah.
I was nervous, y'all.
Once you do a podcast, like just talk farming.
I'm a rookie. I don't think I know enough to talk farming.
Hey, see,
I'm
you're part of your journey
learning.
though. You said your journey.
Yeah, I do share.
Yeah.
You can follow me, but what I tell people is that I'm a rookie, so whatever I'm doing is just, it's what I'm attempting. But one thing about me, like I said, mentorship is cool, but I'm the kind of person, I get great joy in figuring things out on my own. It's just something about that I like. So I really don't like when people are like, oh, you should go to this farm and see what they're doing, and you should do this. People who make those kind of recommendations, they don't know my personality.
Right.
Got you. Do your research. You said 30, 40 hours. You said they're just listening, just conducting your research. So
yeah, I love it. I love that's maybe that was the silver lining in that doctoral program. 3 years of having to read hundreds of pages every night. It really toughened me up mentally, intellectually. So,
fortitude.
Yeah.
I'm with it. Any heritage breeds?
Anyway.
Heritage breeds?
I'm assuming animals, the farm, heritage. What are heritage breeds?
Heritage breeds? See, I'm a rookie, right?
Yes.
Right.
I don't even know what you're talking about, and I don't mind admitting that.
Laura Kelly, thank you for being so open. Carlos Childs, awesome podcast.
Thank you.
Carlos Childs, a good friend of the BNY Network.
Shout out to Lowe's.
Come on, y'all. Follow Charity's Hope Family Farm. Give me a chance.
Send me some information. I'll share it tomorrow, too, as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll have everybody better find you the link from there.
Okay.
But Charles County, once again, thank you very much for the activity tonight in the comment section.
Definitely
for the live viewers. Hi, I like the viewer count. Obviously, we don't do it just for the
viewer count.
Yeah, it's solid. Yeah, you're on here. Yeah, of course it was going to be. I think we announced the podcast and popped off like 300 comments already.
Yeah,
I was going to do some more promotion with it. I was like, get it.
That was
that's
it.
why
That
I
was
was
enough.
nervous. I was nervous, like, oh man.
But that was part one of the podcast.
I
was the
thought y'all
comment
was gonna
section.
dog me out. Y'all was pretty good, Charles County. Thank you.
Nah. You got you got your people here. So yeah, keep grinding.
We definitely appreciate you coming through and sharing your story with us over here at BNY. Yeah, we just want to get it out there.
As far as us, BNY, Shed's coming back here pretty soon.
Right.
Give you an update on that too as well. We've been. Shed's gonna get repaired.
Okay.
We're going right back to the same property.
Going back. I mean, hey, look.
We're going to
build. What we know.
We're going to build it right on the same soil, like Batman when Wayne Manor burned down. We'll rebuild it brick by brick. So
brick by brick.
We'll be back up here. Hopefully June time frame. So definitely want to do a special podcast for that. Who on it? Not sure. Obviously, we got us here too as well.
Right.
We'll keep following what you're doing there. Hopefully D1 will have another individual sitting down for the board by then. Education. We'll see. So
more to come.
Yeah. Maybe county still be embedded in the lawsuit.
Maybe Ricky will be sitting on there.
Maybe. I have no aspirations of such. I'm too. You know how much data and footage they got on me. All the jokes I've said over time.
No, not this guy.
I think one joke I had on here was like, "Look, I want to do any GPA as far as when it comes to kids playing high school athletics. They tear me in half, dude. I ain't got time for that.
Facts.
I ain't got time for y'all. I just keep holding power to power. So, love it. Thank you very much, Charity.
Thank you, everybody.
Charles County, you have a good night. Drive safe wherever you're at too as well.
We out.
Enjoy the rest of your week.